If you're changing out an in-tank fuel module or fuel pump, there's one prep step you must do to make sure you get the job done right the first time. If you skip this step, you've got a good chance of having that brand new component fail in a couple hundred miles or less. And that means a comeback and a very unhappy customer. Hi, I'm Kyle from Delphi, and the prep step we're talking about today is cleaning the fuel tank. Why do we need to clean the fuel tank? Because over time, dirt and debris gets into the gas tank, and while fuel modules and pumps may have screens and filters to protect against contamination, once the level of dirt gets to be too much, it can overwhelm the filter and wreck the fuel module. So let's review what you need to do to ensure the tank is clean and your installation doesn't result in a comeback. Now, before getting to work on replacing the fuel module, check the fuel system pressure, flow, and the pump or the module's electrical circuit. You may find issues that, once fixed, eliminate the need to replace the pump or module. But if you do have to replace the fuel module or the pressure regulator, here are a few tips to remember whenever you work with the fuel tank. Have a Class B fire extinguisher available, work in a well-ventilated area away from open flames or sparks, and wear safety glasses. You'll have to drain the tank and relieve the tank pressure, and the procedure for doing this varies by make and model. So follow the manufacturer's instructions. Drain fuel from the tank into an approved container like this, and again, you need to follow the manufacturer's instructions. For example, this tank connects to a filler neck with a one-way check valve, so you can't siphon the fuel out from there. Once the gas has been completely drained from the tank, disconnect the ground cable from the battery, then disconnect the electrical connection at the module. Inspect the wiring for evidence of overheating, and if necessary, repair it. You may have to install a new jumper wiring harness like this if it's supplied with a new unit. When you get to the tank, you'll often find dirt and debris on the top surface. Vacuum this clean before pulling the old module so you don't risk adding more dirt into the tank. And after vacuuming thoroughly, clean off anything that remains with compressed air. Once the area is thoroughly cleaned, go ahead and remove any remaining fuel lines and pull the lock ring that hold this module in place. As you pull out the module, make sure any remaining fuel drains back into the tank, and be sure to avoid bending the float arm. Next, pump out as much of the fuel as possible, and when you've pumped out all of the fuel that you can, pour out any of the fuel that remains. Be aware that many tanks have irregular shapes and internal baffles, so you may need to tip your tank back and forth several times in different directions to get all of the fuel out. Next, wipe down all the surfaces you can reach inside the tank with shop towels to soak up any remaining fuel, and then use compressed air to evaporate any fuel residue before you wash out the tank. Mix a few drops of low sudsing soap with fresh water. Pour it into the tank and tilt the tank back and forth to send the soapy water throughout the tank. And again, wipe down wherever you can with clean shop towels, and then pour out the soapy water. Spray a generous amount of water into the tank to rinse it thoroughly. Drain that water out, spray it one more time, drain it again, and wipe up as much of the remaining water as you can with clean shop towels. Use compressed air to dry up any residual moisture that's trapped in the baffles, and then, to make sure there's no water left in the tank, let it sit and dry for at least 30 minutes before installing the new module. As I mentioned, if you must replace the fuel module in the vehicle you're working on, you may also need to put in a new jumper harness. For the aftermarket, manufacturers like Delphi provide a redesigned jumper harness that keeps the positive and the negative power leads far enough apart to avoid that overheating issue. So if your new aftermarket fuel module comes with a new jumper harness, be sure to use it. If a jumper harness has already been installed and there's no evidence of overheating, then there's no need to replace it. And that's it. You can reassemble your vehicle, add a small amount of gas to the tank, and test to ensure your new fuel module is working properly. So remember, if you're replacing a fuel module or in-tank pump, clean that tank to avoid a comeback. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe below to learn when the latest Delphi Tech Tip videos are available.